Mellow Park. Had got beaten in a maiden as a 2-year-old. Sort of made the decision to be bold with her. Went to Goodwood. I think we went there thinking we could get placed, didn't really expect to win, and then she absolutely pulverised the field. Suddenly we were left there with dreams of having an Oaks contender.
Mellow Park goes on to win the Victor Chandler Loopy Stakes by the best part of 8 lengths.
Put up a very brave performance to win the Lancashire Oaks, and it was a good, tough filly. I would love to run her over further, but it wouldn't have been any good for her, possibly a future career as a broodmare, to see her winning over extended trips, so she never got the chance to go further than a mile and a half.
Another group of talented 2-year-olds were in residence in 2003. None was tougher than Peak to Creek.
Peak to Creek, what a fabulous 2-year-old, tough, honest horse. Seemed to run every week of that season.
Peak to Creek is a cracking 2-year-old. He was just tough. He used to run every 10 days and just loved it. A real kind Christian of a horse. Lovely.
Ran up a little sequence early on and then got beaten a few times. In his first part of the season, we used to ride him from the front. And then we changed it up at the back end. Pat Edry's, I think probably Pat Edry's idea. And then he got a new lease of life at the end of the season and won at Yarmouth, won a conditions race at Yarmouth, won the Redcar Sprint Trophy, which was a good result. Came back a week later and won the Rockingham at York, and then finished off the season winning a Horace Hill. And just an extraordinarily tough, hardy 2-year-old to win that 7 races in a season and to run 13 times. You could do with a few like him every year, or even one like him. Beaumont, he was a very, very good 2-year-old. As a 2-year-old, the first objective for him, even before he went onto the track, you know, he'd shown us a lot of talent, had him in mind to sort of set him out for the gym crack. Pat Edry rode him, and I remember with Pat, he was a free running horse who liked to get out there and do it, and made a plan with Pat and said that we'd jump out and make the running, and decided that we'd edge across all the way just to get to the quicker round.
Beaumont in front from Fokine. They go nose to nose. Beaumont on the near side of Fokine, going to be close. Beaumont wins the gym crack.
It worked out absolutely perfectly. York's always been most probably my favourite racecourse in England, and was a special day to win the gym crack, and was delighted. And Mr. Robertson, who'd been an owner with me in California as well, you know, sadly he wasn't there on the day due to business commitments, but it was a special day winning the race. We were second in the Middle Park, and then we got a little bit of luck and he got it on disqualification about 2 months later, and the winner failed a test, so, you know, a Group 1 winning 2-year-old, and you know, he did us well that season. Filly in the Lowther the next day was a little bit more easy, but she was a filly who'd won by 10 lengths her racecourse debut at Ascot. Changed ownership after that, and then went to the Lowther. Frankie Dettori rode her in the Lowther, first time he'd rode her. Bolted with him for about 2 furlongs on the way to the start, and then got her back. And I just remember she was, after her bolting to the start, I thought, well, that's it, we're not going to get the job done. And then John McCurrick in particular on TV was saying she's a big drifter and can't win this race and whatever. And then she jumped out of the stalls and made all the running and never looked like getting beaten. And she was a very smart 2-year-old filly, very good filly.
Carry On Katie will do it for Frankie Dettori and Jeremy Noseda. She's done it by 2 lengths.
6 furlongs and they jump away out of the gate. Carry On Katie beginning fast in the blue and white jacket towards the near side on the far.
Following her York success, Carry On Katie went to Newmarket for the Group 1 Cheveley Park Stakes. With Frankie Dettori again in the saddle, the Fastiev filly set a strong pace and was in front before the field had gone a quarter of a mile. Under a fine front-running ride, the filly had enough to spare to cope with the challenge from the runner-up.
Carry On Katie by a half length to Majestic Desert. Majestic Desert staying on very strongly. Carry On Katie, she digs deep and held on.
Addy Amos enjoyed a winter to remember when winning the Winter Derby at Lingfield in 2002. He also provided Jeremy with the first of many winners at Nad Al Sheba in Dubai.
The first year we took horses to the carnival in Dubai and provided myself and the yard with our first ever winner in Dubai, and was lovely for the horse. He'd been such a good servant to us.
Addy Amos's victory at the inaugural Dubai Racing Carnival in February of 2004 was a poignant moment.
It was just a special day to win that race that night, and Frankie Dettori rode it, and you know, Frankie was, you know, his association, he rode Balanchine back in those Godolphin days, so it was a little bit of There was something about it, and I remember Frankie did one of his flying dismounts for just a regular carnival race, but there was a little, I think Frankie riding for me, and with John and Dave, who he knew from those early days at Godolphin, it was a special day,
The racing carnivals staged annually between January and March became a happy hunting ground for the yard.
Dave Bradley, he goes out to the carnival each year, and he's the man in charge and does a fabulous job out there.
When we were in Dubai, we had some great days over there, like when Stage Light won the Guineas and when the filly won the Guineas Vague. Plenty of good days.
We had a great time at the carnival. Majors Cast won 3. Twilight Blues won 1 and was placed a few times. And then Stage Light, who we'd bought as a 2-year-old Montjeur horse, took the chance and took him to Dubai to run on the dirt. Took to the dirt, won a conditions race first time out, and then was an impressive winner of the UAE Guineas, a Group 3, but sadly sustained a tendon injury while getting ready for the UAE Derby, which was disappointing, but the team out there did a great job, and it was a good year for us in Dubai. Blue Dakota, yeah, owned by Jim Ryan and Adrian Nolan. Very precocious horse, very fast horse. Always looked like a possibility to be a Royal Ascot 2-year-old winner. He won very comfortably first time out at Newmarket. Then went back to Windsor and won well there, and headed on to the Norfolk, which was a bit of a scramble on the day, but was thrilled. He got the job done. It didn't matter whether it was by a neck or a short head, as long as he got the job done, and it was a second Royal Ascot winner for the yard.
Blue Dakota starting to tie up a bit in front. Mystical Land absolutely flying on the far side. It's Blue Dakota just in front. Blue Dakota!
It was a special day for me as well, in that I had lunch with the Queen that day and was in the royal procession. To have that day and to have a winner as well of the first race made it even better.
Jeremy and form expert Michael Haggis have struck up a successful partnership.
Michael and I, we've known each other a long while, from when he was agent to Walter Swinburne. I just felt it was more important that I concentrated even more of my time onto horses and less time looking at form and deciding where horses run.
When Jeremy makes the entries, I look at the races and try and work out if it's the right thing to do to run the horse or not.
It's a partnership which I found has worked really well, and he's won me races which possibly if I'd been doing it myself we wouldn't have won, so he's a big part of what we do.
I think from dealing with other trainers, the most important thing I find is that a trainer must know the capabilities of his horses, and I can ask Jeremy what he feels the horse is capable of running to a mark, and he'll tell me, and 99% of the time he's right. When he has a good horse, he knows about it. I would take an example of Francesca de Gorgia this year at Ascot. She'd run at Nottingham and run appallingly on debut. We couldn't understand why, and we were all scratching our heads, and I just said to him, you think she's a good filly? I believe you, and you don't make mistakes like that. Run her at Royal Ascot. She ran at Royal Ascot and ran very, very well. And I think it's just having the confidence to believe what your horses are, knowing your horses well, and that's where Jeremy is as good as anybody I've ever met.
A memorable 2004 closed with one of the stable's most outstanding winners. Wilco took on the Americans at their own game in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, staged that year at Lone Star Park in Texas. A good, tough, honest horse, Wilco was owned by Paul Roy.
Called Wilco, incidentally, by my daughter as Johnny Wilkinson. His nickname is Wilco, as you know. And she thinks Johnny's pretty awesome, so awesome again, Wilco. Think about it for a minute. It's how we got there to the name.
We took our shot and headed off to Lone Star Park, Texas. The horse had worked fabulously going in. I remember 10 days before Frankie came in and rode him a piece of work and was absolutely thrilled with him. Sally and myself, we actually had a good time. There was no pressure. Really enjoyed it. So went there with actually no ambitions of really winning the race, but confident that he would handle the dirt and that he'd stay every yard of the trip. And as the race went, he looked beaten 3 furlongs out, turned into home straight, seemed to sort of get galvanised again, and came there and, on the running to get up and beat some good horses. Beat a horse that the next year went on to win the second in the Kentucky Derby and win the Preakness and the Belmont.
Wilco into the final 16, and it's Wilco in front, and he's going to pull off a huge upset here. He'll take $50 to win.
special ride by Frankie Dettori. I don't think there's many jockeys in the world would have persevered in the way he did and put their head down. A very, very special ride to win. Huge credit to him.
At the end of it, it was more like a relief of pressure when he won, because the build-up was that much. I had so much faith in the little horse that I thought he could win. I put more pressure on myself to almost deliver the goods. I've done all that work and you're out there and it's come off. It's such a great team effort that it happens, you know.
It's tough to go to America and to compete on the dirt. Now that's even harder than going there to race on the turf. So it was very satisfying to win and to beat the Americans at their own game. And for Paul Roy to own him, been my biggest supporter as far as number of horses go. And great result for everyone here at the yard. Joe Scally, who took him out there. Phil Harlan, my head man, who went there in charge of things. Great performance by the horse, and it was a tough, honest horse, and it was a special day that I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Majors Cast, named after a salmon pool on the River Tay, one of my favourite pools. A very big and very backward two-year-old, didn't run. A horse that was going to take a lot of time, and Jeremy has, I think, got such a great feel with horses, and he can spot that, and therefore gave the horse every opportunity to start to mature.
Yeah, the Major, actually my wife Sally's favourite horse. She used to ride him out every day.
Well, I was lucky enough to ride him in most of his work, so I got very attached to him. Everybody loved him. He was gorgeous looking, and he was a nice ride.
He'd been a late developing horse, and he was a very kind, honest horse, always had talent. Went to Dubai. We knew when we sent him out there he was on a handicap mark that gave him a chance to possibly win a couple of races out there, and had his first run out there, and then got on a roll, won 3 consecutive starts while going up sort of 22 pound, I think it was, in the weights, and then ended up his campaign there running in the Dubai duty free, and ran a huge race on the day. Over a trip that really didn't suit, but that winter in Dubai had confirmed that he was a progressive horse who was on his way to being capable of winning a group race.
He just got better and better and better, and if you like, he was almost like the sort of classic. The reason that he was so dear to our hearts was because he was an incredibly honest horse and never ran a bad race, and if you like, was a bit like the journeyman player in the England Test team who grafts and works so hard for his run. Probably doesn't have massive amount of natural talent, but gets there through sheer endeavour, and that was really Major's Cast.
Put up the best performance of his life, most likely to be second in the Lockinge, and we were really looking forward to taking him to Royal Ascot and the Queen Anne, and 10 days beforehand he fractured a leg, and sadly on recovering from the operation re-shattered his leg, and he had to be put down. And it was a lovely, honest horse, and sad it happens to any horse, but when they're like him it makes it even tougher for a yard. But he was a good servant at the time we had him, and look back with him fondly. He's buried here, so we see him, think of him every day when we walk out to take the horses out to pick grass, and he was just a lovely horse, special horse to be around.